At the beginning of the story, we see a group of researchers attempting to search for something beneath the sea. They lower a device with a ship and discover a huge object. It was a massive ship that sank on April 14th, 1912, colliding with an iceberg. Hello friends, we are talking about the Titanic, where they go to search for something many days after the Titanic sank. And that thing is a diamond named the Heart of the Ocean, one of the precious diamonds in the world. The members of that research team send a robotic device to search for the diamond, which is with them for finding the Titanic. With the help of that device, they search all around the Titanic for the valuable diamond. At one point, they come across a locker amidst the remnants of the Titanic, and everyone becomes excited. They all think that perhaps within it lies the heart of the ocean. They are all filled with joy and excitement. With the help of a device, they bring the locker onto the ship's surface from the depths of the sea. They were all very excited because they believed that the diamond might be inside it. However, when they opened the locker, they found no precious gem inside. They found some old papers and some money inside the locker. The entire team was disappointed, and they continued to check all the documents in the locker. They found a file with a picture inside, which they tried to clean. While cleaning the picture, they noticed a girl walking off the deck of the ocean with a locket. What surprised them was that the picture was taken the day the Titanic sank. That is, on April 14th, 1912. They broadcasted this picture and the information on the news channel for everyone to see. An old lady, while working at her shop, saw this news and asked the girl in her shop what was being shown on TV. The girl replied that they were broadcasting some items found from the Titanic and a picture on the news. This caught the attention of the elderly, respectable lady, who was nearly 100 years old. She attempted to contact the research team. The woman contacted the head of the research team through a satellite call, whose name was Brock Lovett. She phoned him and asked if he had found the heart of the ocean. Upon hearing this, Lovett was greatly astonished and asked her if she recognized the girl in the picture. In response, the respectable lady said that the girl in the picture was herself. This revelation left everyone in the research team stunned. Lovett wants her to come near the Titanic. Then, a member of the research team says she is lying to gain popularity and to waste your money. Lovett doesn't inform the person that what they're saying is incorrect because this information is known only to the people on the ship and those who were on the Titanic. When the girl mentioned the heart of the ocean, it must be certain that she was on that ship. Lovett arranges for the woman to be brought to the ship. The next day, the elderly woman is taken to the middle of the sea by helicopter, where the Titanic had sunk. Upon reaching the ship, the elderly woman requests to see the picture they had found from the Titanic. A specialist on the ship, who had been shown visuals of how the Titanic sank on a computer, was present to explain to her how the Titanic had sunk. Then the woman says that their assumption is amazing. However, the events and weather of that day were entirely different, something only those present there would understand. After that, the woman finds many more documents associated with the picture. These documents were recovered by the research team from the Titanic. Seeing all this, the woman becomes very emotional and starts to cry. Lovett asks the woman where she found the heart of the ocean and how she found it. Lovett asks her if she will reveal the entire incident. In the next scene, we see the girl going back in time in the flashback of the story and begins to recount her past events. The scene starts in 1912, where we see the elderly woman, who was then very beautiful, named Rose. It is revealed that she, along with her mother and her fiancé Jack, participated in the maiden voyage of the Titanic, intending to reach New York, America, aboard the Titanic. The Titanic was the most luxurious and largest ship of that time, where the wealthiest individuals participated in its maiden voyage. The Titanic was eagerly awaited for its first journey. Here, through Rose's mother, we come to know that she was very pleased to be part of this ship. However, despite everyone's happiness, Rose was not happy at all. The reason being, she did not like the person she was going to marry, and despite her reluctance, she had agreed to the marriage for her mother's sake, as there was no other way out for her. After Rose's father passed away, to maintain their family status, her mother arranged her marriage with a 30-year-old man named Calvert. However, Rose was not willing to accept her mother's decision, and she was extremely unhappy. Then we see another scene in the story where another main character, Jack, is sitting in a casino playing cards with his friends. Jack didn't have a lot of money, yet he was a happy person. He was playing cards with his friends, and through gambling, he and his friends managed to win 2 tickets for the Titanic. Jack and his friends were very happy because they would be traveling on the Titanic. Jack was a very adventurous person. Jack gathers their belongings and sets out for the Titanic, eager for the journey. When Jack arrives at the Titanic, he sees the Titanic is about to set sail, so he and his friends hurry to board the ship. Jack tells his friends they are very lucky because they managed to board the Titanic at the last moment. The Titanic begins its journey towards America from there. Jack and his friends were very happy to be passengers on the Titanic. As the Titanic slowly moves further into the sea, the captain instructs his crew to sail the ship at full speed as he is eager to see the Titanic's true power. Meanwhile, Jack sits on deck chatting with his friends when he notices Rose from a distance. Jack keeps looking towards Rose. And here, Jack sees Rose for the first time, just like the first time. At first sight, Jack really likes Rose. But moments later, Rose leaves from there. Then it is seen that Rose is sitting upset at a party because she was extremely unhappy with her own life. Although everyone liked this ship, Rose did not like this ship. Since Rose and her fiancé were very wealthy, they were seated on the first-class deck of the ship, and the people around them were all talking about money and their power. No one talked about anyone's feelings. Rose was being forced into a marriage against her own will. At that moment, she thought dying would be better than going through with this marriage. Contemplating these thoughts, she decides to end it all. Ignoring everyone's gaze, she walks towards the back of the ship, to the edge of the railing, and decides to jump off. Then she runs towards the railing at the ship's edge. Jack was sitting nearby and had noticed her intention to leave. As Rose was about to jump off the railing, Jack, in curiosity, moves towards her and sees her about to laugh as she heads downwards. Then Jack tries to convince Rose, telling her that what she is about to do won't end well at all, and he tries to reason with her. However, Rose doesn't want to hear anything Jack has to say and insists she will jump. Jack then says, "If you jump, I'll jump too." He says, "If I jump, I won't die anymore because I know how to swim, but the water here is very cold, which will cause us a lot of pain and we will die slowly." However, Jack continues to say a lot more to Rose in an attempt to persuade her. At one point, Rose refrains from considering the idea of jumping after hearing Jack's words. Just when Jack is about to lift Rose over the railing, her foot slips. And right at that moment, Jack grabs Rose and she cries out in fear, pleading for help. Upon hearing the cry, some crew members of the ship rush towards them. Meanwhile, Jack has lifted Rose up, and when he attempts to pull her over, Jack slips and falls on top of Rose. It is at this moment that the crew members arrive at the scene. Seeing this, they suspect that Jack intends to harm her. So, they report to the police, and soon Rose's fiancé arrives with the police. Upon hearing all this from the police, Rose's fiancé goes to attack Jack. But at that moment, Rose intervenes and declares that Jack is not at fault. It was an accident. She explains that she was standing on the railing side trying to see the sea and the ship's propeller, and it was at that moment that she slipped and was about to fall. Jack came to rescue her, and that's the true story. Everything else they are thinking is completely wrong. Upon hearing this, Rose's fiancé wants to reward Jack with a substantial amount of money. Then Rose tells her fiancé Kaladin that he's giving hush money to his girlfriend. The worth of his girlfriend is bribe money. After hearing this, Kaladin invites Jack to their dinner. Then Rose and Kaladin go to their room, where it's seen that Kaladin is presenting Rose with a Heart of the Ocean gift that he had bought for her. The next day, Rose wants to thank Jack for the previous day's events. They continue to share stories, and at one point, Rose learns that Jack's financial situation is not good, because he loves traveling. Rose finds out that he has traveled to many countries, and also learns that he is a very good artist. She enjoys looking at his fantastic drawings. It is during this time that Rose starts to like Jack because he is a very happy and enthusiastic person. Jack used to travel according to his own wishes, enjoying life in a way that Rose couldn't. During their storytelling time, when Rose's mother takes them aside to leave, Rose is compelled to introduce Jack to her mother, and she recounts how Jack saved her the previous night. When everyone was talking to Jack, Rose's mother didn't talk to him at all, because Rose's mother is very greedy for money, and since Jack is a third-class passenger and looks very poor, she feels very disdainful towards him and doesn't pay him any attention. After Rose's mother leaves, one of her friends asks Jack, "What are you going to do after the dinner party tonight?" Jack replies, "I'll do what comes next when the time comes." Hearing this, The lady takes Jack to her room and lets him wear one of her son's dresses. Jack then attends the dinner party in that attire. No one can tell that Jack is a third-class passenger by looking at him in that outfit. They assume he is a wealthy young man from a respectable family. This is how Jack meets Rose and accompanies her to the dinner party. During the dinner, Rose's mother tries to humiliate Jack by saying various things. But Jack responds very politely to her questions, and everyone else enjoys hearing him speak. At the end of the dinner, when Rose's husband leaves for a meeting, Jack comes out just then. But before leaving, he gives Rose a letter where it was written, "Meet me outside by the clock." Upon seeing the note, Rose encounters Jack outside and he asks her if she wants to go to a real party, saying, "Come with me." Later, Rose and Jack are present at a party for third-class passengers. There, Rose notices that unlike other parties, there is no arrogance among anyone present. Everyone is enjoying together, drinking wine and dancing. There are no inhibitions, which Rose greatly appreciates. Rose, Jack, and everyone else continue to dance and enjoy themselves. It feels as though Rose has forgotten all the problems in her life, and she feels very lighthearted. However, Rose's fiancé, Kaladin, had assigned someone to keep an eye on her. So, when that person sees Rose dancing with Jack, they report it to Kaladin. The next day, Kaladin interrogates Rose extensively, even warning her after learning about the incident from her mother. This makes Rose cautious, so she avoids seeing Jack anymore. Even her mother emotionally blackmails her, saying that if Rose marries Kaladin, their financial situation will stabilize. Otherwise, they'll end up on the streets soon. Upon hearing all this, Rose decides she'll never see Jack again. In the subsequent scene, Jack is seen searching for Rose and eventually finds her on one side of the ship. He expresses his affection for her and tells her that he likes her very much and loves her. Jack wants to spend his entire life with Rose because he believes that if Rose marries Kaladin, her will to live will die. At this moment, Rose tells Jack that he's not responsible for her survival and leaves from there. However, later Rose realizes that she won't be able to survive in such an environment. She thinks that if she stays with Jack, whatever little happiness she feels won't be found anywhere else. As a result, Rose goes to see Jack again at dusk, where we witness the most romantic scene of the movie. They kiss each other passionately for the first time, then stand with their arms outstretched in front of the ship, enjoying the beauty of the sea together. Then, we see Rose and Jack present in Rose's room. Where Rose receives the gift, Heart of the Ocean from Cauldron, she shows it to Jack. Rose then tells Jack that in the wearing of Heart of the Ocean, she tells Jack to draw a sketch following Rose's request. He draws a picture that a research team found 84 years after the sinking of the Titanic. After drawing the picture, Rose starts writing a letter for her husband and tells Jack to lock it in a safe. On the other hand, the person hired by Calvert to keep an eye on Rose is unable to find her anywhere inside the first-class booking room. Upon hearing this, Calvert instructs the man to find Rose no matter what. The man searches the entire ship for Rose. During his search, he eventually arrives at Rose's room, where Jack and Rose are present. Before Jack and Rose are noticed, he manages to retreat. Jack and Rose try to divert his attention and then take refuge in a car within the carbide. When the man fails to find them there, Jack and Rose spend some time alone and enjoy those moments. They spend some time there before moving towards the front of the ship, and at that moment, they see a big iceberg ahead of the ship. To avoid a collision with the iceberg, they begin to operate all the engines of the ship towards the back. They turn the ship's steering wheel completely to one side, but it doesn't do anything because the Titanic was a very large ship that was difficult to stop and steer. Despite their efforts, they couldn't maneuver the ship, and it collided with the iceberg on one side. This collision caused extensive damage to the lower side of the ship. Some crew members realized the extent of the damage after this collision. Shortly after, the ship's captain, crew members, designers, and builders gather for a discussion. After the discussion, the ship's builder reveals that within 10 minutes of the collision, the water level has risen 15 feet above the lower deck, and water has already entered 5 compartments of the ship. In such a situation, it won't be possible to take the ship forward. The captain asks what they should do now, but the builders say there's nothing more to be done. Despite the disbelief, they start preparing to lower the lifeboats for all passengers, realizing that the Titanic is sinking. The same person further informs that if the ship sinks more, it will only be able to stay afloat for 2 more hours, and arrangements need to be made in the meantime. On the other hand, since Jack and Rose were right in front of the ship, they witnessed this incident. Hearing the officers' discussions on the ship, they understand the extent of the damage to the ship. So, to avoid suspicion, they leave on behalf of Rose's mother. On the other hand, unable to find Calden's dress, he goes to his room to check thoroughly. Coming for a moment, he sees that sketch of Rose and the necklace, along with their written letter. After seeing this, all the events become clear to Calabar, and he decides not to take revenge on Jack. So he plans to inform the police and tells them that his valuable Heart of the Ocean has been stolen from his locker. When the police are inspecting everything in the room, Jack and Rose arrive there just before. However, before Jack arrives, the person hired by Calden secretly places the necklace in his pocket. As a result, when the police search Jack, they find the necklace in his pocket. So they immediately arrest him. But Rose cannot believe this. She cannot believe that Jack could steal. Then the police arrest Jack and take him to the Master of the Arms office, where they handcuff him and detain him. Keeping him there, the police officer takes the keys and leaves. On the other hand, it is seen that due to the flooding in some parts of the ship, commotion begins among the common people because they understood that the ship was sinking in a matter of moments, so everyone gets busy trying to save their lives through lifeboats. However, the Titanic authorities were so confident in the ship that, according to the number of people, they had kept fewer lifeboats. For this reason, they could not see any way to decide. They decided that the first-class passengers would board first, and the rest of the boats would carry children and women first. Hearing this, Calden arranges for Rose and Rose's mother to board the lifeboat. But even though Rose's mother got on the boat, Rose escapes from there because she wanted to save Jack from this sinking ship. After a lot of effort, Rose talks to the members of the ship and reaches where Jack was. But unfortunately, much of this floor had already sunk. Jack's hand was tied to a pipe with handcuffs. Rose searches a lot, but cannot find the key because it was secretly placed in the pocket of the man who was hired by Calabar. Desperate, Rose sees a pulley there, which can cut Jack's handcuffs. Rose is afraid to operate the pulley because if Jack's hand gets cut off with it. She practices by cutting a piece of wood beside her, and seeing that, Jack says he trusts her, and she can do it. Hearing this, Rose cuts Jack's handcuffs with the pulley, and they come out of there. And they see that only women are being taken on lifeboats on the ship. Calabar gets so angry that he takes a pistol from someone and aims it at Jack. Seeing the gun fired, Rose throws herself in front and starts running to save Jack from the bullets. They start running towards the lower side of the ship. Where a lot of water had risen, Rose and Jack manage to escape from there. Suddenly, Cauldron remembers that the Heart of the Ocean is in the pocket of that jacket which he had given to Rose. Cauldron cannot hold them anymore because of the water on the ship, so Jack and Rose escape through another side. Rose and Jack were looking for a way up to the ship. Suddenly, the lock of the lower door of the ship breaks, causing more water to come in. They are forced to change direction and continue to search for a way up. When they were about to climb up, they saw a road that was blocked. Water quickly fills in there, and they cannot go out. Then they saw a person outside who had the key to the door. They took help from the person and somehow managed to open the door and come out. On the other hand, Cal saves his own life by getting on a lifeboat and sailing away. Then there began a cry of everyone trying to survive. Everyone was running around like mad, as if their lives were everything. The captain, crew, and no one believed that the ship was sinking. The people on the ship are desperately trying to survive, and the struggle to survive is ongoing. Due to the shortage of lifeboats, everyone possible is being taken on board. In one scene, it is seen that the captain has given up hope of survival, and he goes to his cabin to commit to die. Many more scenes can be seen where everyone abandons hope of survival and tries to spend the remaining time in joy, comforting themselves. Additionally, many more people on the ship are making desperate attempts to save their lives. Rose and Jack come up onto the ship, and right at that moment, the ship cracks in the middle. Due to the high amount of water in front of the ship, it rapidly starts sinking, with the ship's heavy structure and large mastulas breaking apart. Seeing this, it seems that the ship has been poorly constructed and is fragile. The front part of the ship quickly submerges, and within moments, it goes down. On the other side, Jack and Rose were towards the rear of the ship, which was not filling with water as quickly. Now, this part is also gradually sinking, and Jack and Rose position themselves as much as possible towards the back of the ship. As every part of the ship sinks slowly, eventually the part where Rose and Jack are holding on to submerges. Despite holding onto each other tightly, as the ship sinks, they are separated. People around are making desperate attempts to survive. Even in the midst of this struggle for survival, Jack and Rose, after holding on to each other, get separated when the ship finally sinks. Despite the crowded surroundings, Jack and Rose become separated from each other. At this critical moment, people are struggling desperately for survival. After the ship sinks, they are separated, and amidst the chaos, Jack and Rose are separated from each other. Despite their efforts to stay alive, they become separated as the ship goes down. At one point, they spot a piece of wood from the ship floating nearby. They feel relieved and happy to see the piece of wood. Jack and Rose move towards the piece of wood, with Jack lifting Rose onto it. Jack realizes that the piece of wood can only support one person's weight. Therefore, he holds onto Rose's hand as she floats in the water below, while he stays on the wooden plank. Nearby, a person continues to blow a whistle loudly, signaling for the boats to come back and rescue them. The lifeboats had drifted far away from the ship, and from a distance, they could hear the cries of people. The crew members on the boats wanted to bring them back to rescue those stranded in the water. At that moment, someone on the boat said that if they took on more people, they would all die. Then, someone else among them pointed out that many of the lifeboats were empty. They decided to fill up the empty boats and send one empty boat back to the sinking ship. As they approached, they noticed that most of the people there had died, mainly because the water was too cold. On the other hand, Jack kept reassuring Rose, telling her to keep hope alive, saying that a boat would come for them soon and save her. He told her that she would survive, her death would not be there, and she would see many children grow up, and then she would die. Then Jack said to Rose, "Promise me you won't ever let go. Promise me you'll live." Rose seemed to be freezing, losing hope for survival. Seeing this, Jack urged her to stay courageous, telling her, "The days spent with you were the most beautiful in my life. You have to promise me that you'll live beautifully for as long as you can." At that moment, Rose made a promise to him that she would live beautifully. She looked around at the chaos surrounding them, the turmoil of survival, and now it was silent. Rose understood that the lifeboats had come for their rescue. She kept calling out to Jack, realizing that they would survive. Suddenly, Rose noticed that Jack was not responding. In the cold water for so long, he had succumbed to death. Seeing this, Rose felt like she had lost her will to live. But at that moment, she remembered Jack's words. She had promised him that she would live. Then, Rose tries to call out to the crew members on the lifeboat. But by then, she realizes that the cold has seized her voice. No sound is coming from her throat. As Rose stands beside a dead body on the lifeboat, she notices a whistle around the person's neck. Failing to find any other way, she lets go of Jack's hand for the last time and bids him farewell. Jack begins to sink into the water before Rose's eyes. In desperation, she jumps into the water to retrieve the whistle. Grabbing it, she starts blowing it loudly, desperately trying to attract the attention of the crew members. Hearing the sound of the whistle, the crew members on the lifeboat rescue Rose. Later, we see a ship named Carpathia rescuing the survivors from there and taking them to New York. Upon arriving on the ship, Rose conceals her identity and avoids being found by her family. She changes her name and tries to blend in with the other passengers on the ship. During her time on the ship, she catches sight of Cal but hides herself from him. However, the mention of the Heart of the Ocean necklace reminds Rose of something, and she reaches into her pocket. To her surprise, she finds the diamond in her possession, but she decides not to reveal the existence of the diamond to anyone else. In the next scene, an elderly lady narrates the story, expressing how everyone on the ship is crying because they do not know much about the Titanic. Then, a member of the research team confesses that despite 3 years of researching the Titanic, they still don't know much. Later, Rose walks to the edge of the ship, capturing everyone's attention, and throws the Heart of the Ocean into the sea, where she last saw Jack. Subsequently, the elderly lady returns home, and in her sleep, she dreams of the Titanic from 84 years ago in 1912. She sees herself spending time with Jack, and when they reunite, everyone applauds them, concluding the story of the movie. Please subscribe for more.